Today, we're joined by Shantelle Smith as we tackle a big question. Why get married? Shantelle is a attorney at law and she is here to bring legal insights into divorce, relationships, and the decisions people make before saying, I do. Welcome back to the show called One Step. Let's talk about the journey. My name is Joel Bennett. Before we dive in, I want to set expectations for listeners. This isn't about bashing marriage or glorifying divorce. It's about understanding the realities emotionally, legally, and financially so people can make better decisions. Shantelle, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you
Absolute
for having
pleasure
me.
to have you. It's been a 3 years wait,
It has. Oh man, I can't believe it's been that long.
but it's gonna be worth it.
Thank you.
I read somewhere that you make a mean cheesecake. Is it any different or special than what the regular pastry shops make?
I don't think so, but
Mhm.
just a little flair I add in there.
What's the flair? You
I can't tell you that. I can't tell you that.
Okay.
You might just have to retain me to
I
find
see.
out.
I see. I love cheesecake, but I can't have a lot. It's a bit
Yes.
cloying, but I
Yes.
do love cheesecake. I just
Yes.
can't eat too much
Yep. Yeah.
all at once.
I
But
agree.
we'll talk off here.
Yeah.
Now, Chantal, let's start at the beginning.
Yes.
According to celebrity divorce attorney James Sexton, not sure if you're familiar with that individual. I was watching a podcast. By the way, Diary of a CEO it is my favorite podcast.
Nice. Okay.
And he made reference to 56% of marriages fail and 86% of people who get divorced remarry within 5 years. So from that little bit of data, I gather that people want to get married.
Oh yeah, of course. I think everybody has that dream or that aspiration of finding that person.
Yeah.
So I think 9 out of 10 people would say, yeah, I'd want to be married or I would want to have a life partner for sure.
Yeah. Are there core reasons why people get married, you would say?
I would say for sure there's 2, right? We have the traditional reason you grow up, you've seen your family or friends get married, you see it on TV, and that idea of children and a picket fence and a dog, that's kind of the ideal picture. Or you have just your obligation. Some people get married because they have a child on their way.
Yes.
Some people get married because they have children and they've kind of formed a relationship with another individual. Just some sort of obligation, right?
Yeah.
So I'd say out of tradition or out of obligation are most of the reasons why people get married.
Okay. What about religious concepts?
I think that's a huge thing, and I would probably put that in the traditional bucket as well, right? Especially if you come from certain backgrounds, Caribbean, African, Asian, South Asian. There's a lot of emphasis on marriage. Hand in hand with education is marriage, and I think a lot of persons are forced or compelled to, I need to finish school, I need to get married, and then I can now move on with my life.
When you're sitting across clients, obviously for the reasons that we're not really happy with, and they, they're thinking about getting a divorce. What are some of the reasons why they want that divorce?
Some of the reasons why they want that divorce. So a couple are for sure financial. I think financial is one of the biggest issues. People come to me and say, it's time. I can't do it anymore. Another big one is infidelity.
Okay.
Another one is cruelty, either if it's physical or mental type cruelty amongst another individual, your partner, are the biggest reasons. Some people just fall out of love with that individual. people may have those core reasons, but they come in so many different forms or different fashions. And I think it's my job to really understand at the end of the day, how can I help you achieve what your goal is? If you come to me with one reason and it ends up being 10 other reasons, that's fine. My job is not a psychologist. It's just, how do I get you to the end goal?
Yeah. Thanks for that, Chantal. So a really difficult question was asked in the very same interview that I watched, and it's to this day I don't think the question was answered. And I say, you know what? I'm gonna throw this very same question at Chantal and see what her response or opinion will be, because I don't think there is any real answer. And it is, what problem is marriage designed to solve?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. I don't think specifically there is a problem. Many of us who come from religious backgrounds believe you get married to procreate and to further that cycle of life. It's not really the only answer, because there's a lot of people who get married and don't procreate, right? Is it for companionship, to ensure that each individual has a partner, has a life partner? That may be a reason, but I think everybody goes into marriage for different reasons. And I think it's important to appreciate those reasons, but I don't think marriage is the answer. Marriage is what solves that reason. Because some people say, I want a life partner, they get a life partner, get married, and they're still unhappy, right? They have children and they live together for 40, 50 years and they're still unhappy. So yeah, it's a tough one. I think I would say it really depends on the individual.
I figured that much, but because everything that we can do within marriage, we can do outside of marriage.
Most definitely.
And I am totally in agreement with marriage, by the way. We're just so bad at it. And the question is troublesome. It's the relationship itself is, in terms of human beings, and why we have not mastered or gotten better at marriage. It's over the years, 56%, and I think it seems like that is still going up to this day.
Definitely, yeah.
So hopefully through this conversation, we can gain some insights as to how we can do this better, and if not, how we can handle the situation better at
Definitely,
the end.
yeah. Marriage is a difficult road, and I think just in my experience, both legally and just socially, I've realized that years ago when our parents were doing it, it's very different than now. And a lot of factors, social media, the environment, the way things are changing, play a factor into that. And it doesn't allow people to really do the work. It's easy to get married and easy to get divorced, right? But to do the work, it's difficult. It's difficult.
We're gonna dig a bit deeper, but let's hold that one for now. We talk more about marriage, more so on the emotional side, but rarely legally, until from a legal standpoint, what is marriage?
From a legal standpoint, it's a binding contract.
Okay.
It's an obligation from one party to the other and vice versa. Okay. Simplest way I can put it. It's a contract.
So it's not just a piece of paper?
No.
Okay.
No, more than that, definitely.
Just want to get that part out there. Do you think people should approach marriage more like a business partnership?
No, I don't think so, but I think they should put proper parameters in place that would be similar to a partnership, to a business partnership.
Okay. So that marriage certificate, what does it hold when two people decide to, okay, we're going to do this together and we're going to make it legal? I mean, what does it stand for? I'm trying to simplify the piece of paper that we tend to misunderstand.
So that symbolizes your legal obligation to another individual.
Okay.
That symbolizes the um, lives, two individuals' lives coming together.
Okay.
So if it's debt, if it's assets, if it's children, if it's property, they're all now amalgamated, unless you have another piece of paper that says differently.
Okay. We're going to jump into that other piece of paper. Let's
Mm-hmm.
talk about prenups.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the word alone makes, I mean, it's an uncomfortable idea,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But it's a part of the reality
Correct.
of marriage. What's a prenup?
So they have now changed the terminology. It's called a marriage contract.
Okay.
And a marriage contract is a document, almost like a business agreement, which stipulates if there's a breakdown in this relationship.
Yes.
What does that look like? A prenup marriage contract can also be considered a a postnup.
Okay.
It can also be a cohabitation agreement,
Okay.
which is important because a lot of people come to me and say, I'm about to get married. I want to get a marriage contract. But the benefit of a cohabitation agreement / just marriage contract is it can be used throughout the relationship. So while you're cohabitating, when you get married, and post marriage. And you as individuals can make this agreement whatever you want.
Okay.
A lot of people are concerned when they say to the other partner, I want to get this contract done, because most people don't get married to get divorced. Nobody wants to think about the breakdown of the relationship and who's going to be splitting assets. But what I always tell my clients is it's so important to plan for the future.
Yeah.
Just like you get life insurance or an RSP or some sort of pension saving tool, you also want to figure out, okay, I've merged my life with this individual. How do I ensure that they are protected and I am also protected?
So, under the category, still on the topic of prenup, who should consider having a prenup?
Any individuals that are living together.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because if I am living with another individual, we are now joining our lives. Whether it's joint bank accounts, whether it's purchasing a piece of property together, whether it's purchasing a sofa, or just getting a dog or a cat, right? As simple as that. You're joining your lives with an individual. So you don't necessarily have to be married, but anytime you choose to live with another individual, you should look into getting some sort of contract.
You made reference to after marriage.
Yes.
So you can, we're married, and
Yeah.
I decided that, honey, we didn't sign a contract as to, we didn't come to an agreement of, just in case the relationship doesn't work. How do you feel about that? I mean, and what if that other party decide that, no, I don't want to sign anything. What are you saying? We're not going to work out? Like, how do you handle situation like that legally,
Yes.
not emotionally?
Yes. So again, this is just coming from an educational standpoint, but I would advise clients if they came to me and said, Shantelle, one of my party's not interested in getting a contract. How can you explain this to me legally? And again, I would stipulate to them that it's protection for both of you. We never know what the future holds. And yes, it's a time of bliss and a time of happiness in your relationship. But you want to ensure that should you decide to have children, should you decide to invest in properties now or in the future, you're both protected. You've worked many, many years to get to this point. You hopefully will work many more years to get to the stage of retirement where you can enjoy the fruits of your labor. You just want to make sure that each individual is properly protected and you know what to look forward to in the future.
Okay, thank you for that. From your professional experience, what are some of the common causes of divorce?
Uh, Infidelity, financial issues, financial strains on a relationship, mental health issues is a big one nowadays, or just an individual falling out of love.
Okay. I'm gonna poke the bear a little bit, just a tiny bit more. Which one of those surprised you the most?
um, Probably financial
Okay.
and probably mental health are the two biggest ones right now that surprised me. Yeah.
When you say financial,
hmm
can you explain a little bit more?
So I have a lot of clients that come to me and say I was financially abused. They say that I've spent the last 10 years taking care of our children. I've allowed my partner to excel in his career, his or her
Okay.
career. I've allowed them to um, go back to school and further their education while I sat home and I was the homemaker.
Okay.
So a lot of people come to me and say, I just can't do it anymore. I feel like I'm being controlled by this individual who's making the money and bringing the money into the home, or I was financially dependent on that individual. So for me, it's understanding what do you mean in terms of you're financially abused, you're financially dependent, and really seeing if we can get to the crux of those issues. But to me, that's what has crossed my table. I would say is in terms of financial abuse, financial dependence are the biggest things.
Okay. You made reference also to infidelity. Let's
Yes.
talk a little bit about that.
Yes.
From a legal perspective,
hmm
what is cheating? Because
So, based on the legislation,
yeah,
there's three different avenues in which you can get divorced. Infidelity is one of them. And they define infidelity as one party cheating on another party,
okay,
stepping out of the relationship. It could be physical, it could be emotional, um, but it has to be proven. It can't be mere suspicion. It
yes,
has to be proven if you want to make those grounds
yeah,
under infidelity. If you choose not to, that's fine, because some people define infidelity as emotional ties, simply texting, conversations. Then we go through a different avenue on how you can get divorced, but
yeah.
infidelity has to be physical for sure.
And you would need evidence to
Correct.
support that.
Correct.
Okay. Um, who cheats the most? We're gonna. I won't hold this up too long, but I just need the finer details. Who cheats the most, men or women?
I would say most of my clients
Yeah.
are female. And they come to me because they're looking to get divorced from their spouses. Um, but again, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. I can just say based on my practice.
Okay.
So that one you can take from it what you want.
Okay. All right. I tried. um, someone said all marriages end. It either ends in death
hmm
or it ends in divorce.
hmm
Do you think couples wait too long before seeking help?
I think so. I think, and especially again, it comes from your background, right? There's a lot of pride.
Yeah.
You believe that your marriage is sacred. It's a covenant, which it is, and there shouldn't be any third parties involved in that. So I have a lot of clients again that come to me and say, only if we did,
Yeah.
or we should have, or if I knew, we could have. So I think in this day and age where there's support and there's resources, um, people should, but people don't.
Do you hear this phrase a lot? We got married for the wrong reasons. And
Mhm.
what are some of those wrong reasons?
We weren't prepared financially. We weren't ready. We didn't know each other. we didn't lay the foundation. Those are some of the reasons that I get, for sure. It's just the person I thought I was getting married to is not who I now know.
Okay. What advice would you give to that person? Because I'm not saying you play the psychologist role,
Mm-hmm.
but you have conversation, right?
Correct.
What advice would you give to someone who feels like, they're are you sure you're not in that position right now?
Yeah. So for me, anytime I do intake with a client, 3 questions I always ask is, do you have a psychologist?
Yeah.
Do you have an accountant? And do you have a good family friend? Do you have a good resource?
Yeah.
Because I always want to make sure that you have the proper resources. So when people come to me and say, what are your recommendations or what do you think I should do?
Yeah.
I can only base it in law.
Okay.
But I always recommend getting that support, because sometimes it's not only what you think you know, but it's really third party perspective that will kind of help you and guide you through. Even if they're not at the point of divorce. I've had clients just come to me and say, Shantelle, I'm thinking about getting a divorce.
Okay.
What do you recommend? And I always say, get some third party help. Get a counselor, a therapist, a pastor, a priest, somebody who's able to provide some third party insight, some perspective. Because sometimes it's just understanding, it's just communication,
Yeah.
and it can really save a lot of relationships.
Would you also say that for, couples that are having difficulties, if they came to you a little bit earlier,
Mm-hmm.
5 years probably, do you think it would have gone the other way?
If they came to me and said, we're on the verge of
Yeah.
a divorce, possibly. Usually you come to me at the very end,
Yeah.
but sometimes I can kind of steer you in the direction of, if you continue down the road, this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's enough to scare individuals off to say, okay, I need to put in the work. I need to make a change. I need to get that help, because on the other side of this, getting a divorce, going through litigation is not somewhere I want to be,
Okay.
especially if you have children.
Yeah.
So it's possible. It's possible with some of that insight as to what the law says, as to what the courts will do with your situation, may have changed those situations. Yeah.
Okay. So for couples thinking about getting married or even already married,
Mhm.
um, what are the legal mistakes people make before divorce even enter the conversation?
What are the mistakes they make before?
Yeah.
So I think some of the mistakes individuals make
Yeah.
before they get a divorce is not documenting.
Okay.
You're thinking about it, you're humming and hawing about it, you may talk to friends about it, and then you finally do it.
Okay.
So you come to me and say, Chantal, I'm ready to get a divorce. He's been cheating or she's been cheating.
Okay.
They've drained the bank accounts. And I said, fine, but I need the facts. I need the paperwork. And a lot of people come to me with emotions, and they come to me with, this is what I think, and assumptions. But unfortunately, the law is only based in facts.
Okay.
And unless they've documented everything, text messages, phone calls, screenshots, there's very little I can do, depending on the situation, to advance your claim. So I think it's important that if that is a possibility, the biggest thing I would say is to document everything.
Documenting everything.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say once they decide to start documenting
Mm-hmm.
things, they're already out of the marriage?
No. Again, if you're starting to actively document,
Yeah.
but you also want to see if you can salvage this relationship, it can still work to your advantage,
Okay.
right? Because you're still putting the work in, but you're still ensuring that you have all your ducks in a row. I've had people who talked about separation, they've separated and then they reconciled, but they still have the documents, they still have the paper trail from prior to that reconciliation.
Okay.
It's important because if you don't have a marriage contract in place, there's no roles and responsibilities that are defined. And with the documentation, you're able to say, he took care of the mortgage, I took care of the utilities, right? Things as small as those will work to your advantage should you decide to end up getting divorced.
I want to touch a little bit more on this marriage contract.
Mm-hmm.
Are there things you can or cannot put in that contract?
Yes. So as it pertains to children,
Yes.
those provisions can't be put in a contract. But as it pertains to property, spousal support, debts, other assets, those things can be put in a contract.
Okay.
The court is very strict on ensuring the child or the children's well-being, and that is not a tool that can be negotiated in a marriage contract.
Okay. I'm gonna throw out a few hypotheticals here. Okay. Because there are a few main reasons why marriages fail. You made reference to money. You didn't talk much about sex, but you did make reference to infidelity.
Yes.
So in that very same interview I watched with Mr. Saxton, he made reference to one of his clients putting stuff into that contract in terms of the woman herself, because he was the one with the money. She was the one coming in, and he's thinking that she's gonna benefit more. So a few things he put in the contract, one of which was she have to maintain a certain image, physically and so forth. And I think he made reference to, if she gain weight 10 pounds, she lose money if they get a divorce.
Yeah.
And he was very serious about it. So to make the relationship work, I don't know if it will. We still get it wrong sometimes. Why not put these things in?
Yeah.
I want intimacy at least three days a week. Something to that extent.
Yeah.
Not that I know how they're gonna prove that the wife wasn't able to do that.
Correct.
But if we're looking at the marital contract on that side, because really and truly it is, right?
Yeah.
These things aren't offered. Are they offered for people who want a certain marriage?
Oh yeah. Yeah, again, marriage contract, you can make it whatever you want.
Okay.
Right? If you say that you want your husband to ensure that your nails and toes are done every weekend, you can put that in there.
Okay.
If you want to say that he has to ensure my gas tank is full and there's windshield washer fluid in my car, definitely, right? A marriage contract, you can make it whatever you want. The issue is enforcement of that.
Yeah.
The issue is the follow through and holding that individual to account, right? Because yes, if you fail to put gas in your gas tank, whatever provision you put in there, you may be able to enforce it, you may not. But you have to be very realistic about, are we getting into a business relationship or are we getting into a marriage for love's sake, right? But I've seen people put a number of things in their marriage contract, and both parties are okay with that. And it's important that if you're going to get into a marriage contract, that both parties get independent legal advice and that both parties are satisfied with the provisions in that contract.
Okay. Thank you for that. Before we move on, I'm just gonna, provoke you just one last time. One last time. I've seen scenarios where, people are together, they're not legally married, and their life is pretty good, happy, but after marriage,
Mm-hmm.
when this happens, that is, the relationship starts to break down.
Yeah.
Just your opinion. Why is that a reality? Like, what causes the brain of these individuals to, to start to go wonky where their relationship is concerned?
It's a good question. I know in Alberta for sure, marriage and common law relationships are treated very similar.
Yeah.
They don't have the same weight in certain aspects. For example, in estates,
Okay.
if one should pass, they're treated very differently. But individuals sometimes get a bit apprehensive when it comes to contracts
Okay.
because of that legal obligation to that individual. They now feel a sense of obligation, a sense of commitment, which it is, rightfully so. When you're in a common law relationship, there are still obligations, right? You can't leave a relationship that you've been in common law for 12 years without possibly spousal support, without possible child support.
Okay.
So I think it comes from a situation of really understanding what is common law and what is marriage, and do you understand those legal definitions and the legal obligations that each carry, because in some instances they may be one and the same, right, depending on what you're running from.
All right. Thank you for that response. Once divorce happens,
Mm-hmm.
what are the biggest legal and financial repercussions people don't expect?
I would say three of the biggest ones
Yeah.
is child support obligations,
Okay.
spousal support obligations, and taking on the debt of your partner.
Can you explain that just
That
a
one.
bit? Yes.
So once you decide that you're going to divorce, the courts look at equalization of property.
Okay.
And when they look at that, they look at what is the total amount of both parties' assets and what's the total amount of both parties' debts. So if your spouse went out and got a $20,000 car loan, even though you may not have been gung ho about that car,
Yeah.
you've now assumed that debt. And a lot of people say, "Well, I didn't agree to that, or I didn't want that. That's not mine." But because it was obtained while you were married, you are obligated to assume that. So a lot of people are shocked that a lot of the debt they knew about and didn't know about may be equalized.
Okay. So, for argument's sake, who seemed to suffer the most? Is it the person that earned the most, or is it equal? Because what if I'm making $100,000 a year and my wife, is probably making 50?
Mm-hmm. It can go both ways.
Okay.
It can go both ways. When you look at spousal support, it's based on needs. It's
Okay.
based on a compensatory need. It's based on a number of factors. So it's not only my spouse is making $100,000, I'm making 50, I'm entitled to spousal support. The courts definitely look at where you are, what the situation is, and how long it's going to take you to get back on your feet. They're not looking to um, make one person more well off than the other, or compensate you completely for what you lost. What they want to do is give you equal footing to a point,
Okay.
right? But the situation where the individual wasn't making as much, they still have to be able to prove that they need support from that individual. They still have to be able to prove, did I stay home for 10 years and take care of my children so that he can make that $100,000? So that's something to factor in. You look at your child support as well, and you look at if we're going to now share the children equally, what does that look like? How much compensation am I getting from this individual? If I'm going to be the primary parent, am I getting enough compensation to really support these children? So it really depends on each scenario, because we look at the assets, we look at the debts, we look at the income, then we can really evaluate who's better off or if anybody's better off.
Okay, thank you for that. What's one misconception people have about custody battle?
That because I was the primary caregiver, that I'm going to be the primary caregiver going forward.
Okay.
So a lot of individuals think that because I stayed home with the children, or because I put the children to bed, feed them, take them to school, bring them home, that I should be the primary caregiver. And there's a number of there's a number of cases that um, ensure that there's maximum contact, um, ensuring that both mother and father, as long as they're happy, as long as they're healthy, as long as they're safe parents, have equal contact with that child. Um, so some individuals think that automatically I'm going to be the primary caregiver, and the other one may be the weekend parent.
What does the court look at to choose or select who would be the main caregiver? What evidence are they looking for?
So they're looking at a number of factors.
Okay.
They're looking at obviously your affidavit evidence, your sworn evidence you've put before the court, but they're also looking at what's in the best interest of the child.
Okay.
Where's their community? What has been their status quo? Are the children safe? How's their well-being? What is being provided for them on an ongoing basis? There's an exhaustive list of what the courts will take into consideration. But first and foremost, they want to ensure that both parents are safe and both parents are healthy, and both parents are able to provide. If those minimum parameters have been in place and there's no domestic violence, there's no um, safety concerns for the children, 9 times out of 10, the courts are going to look at awarding 50-50 shared parenting. It may not initially start as a shared parenting regime, but it will eventually get there. Because if the courts do not have any concern, tangible concern, not I think dad is doing this or I think mom is doing this, but actually evidence that's fact based, then the courts are more likely to award shared parenting.
I've heard this comment before, that you know men are most times treated unfairly
Mm-hmm.
in the courts when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to divorce and custody battles. How would you respond to that statement?
It's tough. It's tough because I've represented both mothers and fathers, and I've seen it go both ways. It really depends on the background of the situation, and it really depends on what has been the status quo in probably about 10% of the overall. But it's difficult to say one or the other because I've had situations where dad has been awarded the primary parent
Okay.
versus mom. And mom's still healthy, mom is still safe, she's still happy. But I've had situations where mom has been awarded, and you look at that situation as a representative of dad and say, I don't know how the courts got there, right? But one thing I do know is litigation is a long road.
Yeah.
So there's a number of battles before the war. So sometimes it may be skewed to one side, but eventually it will hopefully equal out.
Hopefully. If you could give one piece of advice to people thinking about marriage, what would it be?
I would say go into marriage with your feet planted. And when I say that, it's nice to have that fairy tale,
Yeah.
that bubbly butterfly feeling. But at the end of the day, we as litigators face real situations.
Yeah.
When you come to us, it's not about butterflies anymore. It's about broken hearts, and it's about trauma, and it's about um, how am I going to get back at that person,
Yeah.
right? So I would say just be mindful of the individual that you're with, and take the time to know and get to know that individual, and take the time to ensure that you're ready to do the work. That would be my piece of advice, because a lot of people come to me and say, I didn't know Chantal, he was like this. Or, you know what, I kind of saw that he had behaviors. A lot of people like to throw the
Yeah.
term around narcissistic
Mm-hmm.
behaviors um, for years, right? But it's important to kind of be real and honest with yourself. If you're in a situation where this individual is displaying these things, be honest about it, and do what you need to do to either get the help or um, terminate the relationship.
You know, some people, believe it or not, are of the belief that things will change and get better
Mhm.
after marriage.
Mm,
You know, I just want to emphasize, and get your thoughts too as well. People don't change. Why is it we refuse to accept that reality? Okay, we make modifications, we
correct.
make adjustments,
We make concessions.
but the core of who that person is, marriage is not gonna make it any better.
I would have to agree with you. I think the union, the contract, the legal obligations don't change the individual.
Yeah.
I think it only emphasizes the possible risk, and it only emphasizes the obligation I now have to this individual. But it doesn't make the person go from bad to good by any means.
Very true. What about people who are married? What advice do you have for them? Already married.
Already married, I would
Mhm.
say be prepared to do the work ongoing.
Okay.
Marriage is a lot of work. Marriage is a commitment, as you know, but marriage is not something that is always going to be um, same today, tomorrow, and yesterday, right? It's fluid, very fluid, and I think people need to be ready to move through those ebbs and flows of their relationship. And as people grow, um, you have to kind of adjust your relationship to that.
And what advice would you have for people who are going through a divorce right now?
Um, I would say if you have children, try your level best to be as amicable as possible. I know it's a season of change, and I know it's a season of trauma, and it's a season of adjustment, but there's far too many situations where I see parents pitting children against the other parent. There's way too many times I see people just being malicious just
Yeah.
because they're
Yeah.
hurt, right? Um, the courts are no place for a family. The courts are no place for children. The courts are no place for your relationship. And I always say to my clients, I'm not the lawyer who's going to sit there and rip the head off the other individual.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I know that you still have to have contact with this person
Yeah.
for maybe the next 10 or 18 years if you have children with them. So my job is to salvage as much as the family unit as I can and ensure that you still are able to communicate. You can still call this person and say, this is what's going on with my child. Because I take my money and I leave, but you still have to stay with that individual. So for me, that's the important thing, is try my best to help you navigate the season, but ensuring that we're not doing it in a malicious, vengeful way as much as possible,
Yeah.
I should say.
If you have stuck with us this far, don't forget to like, subscribe, and put something in the comment section. We want YouTube to recognize the show and show it to other viewers. Thank you so much. Rapid fire round, Chantel. Marriage counseling, yes or no?
Definitely.
Okay. Worst legal mistakes during divorce?
I can do it all by myself.
Best outcome you've seen?
Mediation, a separation agreement, and an amicable joint divorce.
Thank you so much, Chantal. This has been a very educating conversation. We've had for some time now on the topic of marriage, divorce, love, law, It's all connected, and whether we like it or not, it's just a part of the reality. And to everyone listening, whether you're married, divorced, or undecided, knowledge is power. Shantelle, are you on any social media?
Not yet, but I'm getting on there. I'm getting on there.
And if for some reasons, which we already know what that would be, someone wants to reach out to you, how would they do that?
Yeah, so they can email me at info@smithcolaw.ca. You can give me a call at 780-306-9004.
We're waiting for that social media
I'm
page.
getting on it.
It's been a pleasure, Shantelle.
Thank you for having
the
me.
wait was worth it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. My name is Joel Bennett. The show is called One Step. Let's talk about the journey. Thank you for staying with us. You all take care. By the way, did you want to leave with anything, Shantelle?
Yeah, feel free, as Joel said, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
And I'm available for any of your legal needs. I practice other areas of law, such as real estate, wills and estates, civil litigation. So feel free to reach out anytime you have any questions or concerns. I'm happy to help.
Thank you for sharing that. You all have an amazing evening. Take care and bye.